done a whole bunch of stuff. You've played on a whole bunch of records and been a whole bunch of different sort of renditions of bands and produced albums for people. But I think to a lot of us, we became aware of you through your work with Wilco. And I know that when you joined the band, there was sort of a seismic shift in the music that, to my ears, the music that band made. And I think it took a lot of people by surprise. Were you conscious of the fact that you were representing something fairly different, a different kind of flavor in a band that had been defined as an alt-country band? I'm
really glad that I was kind of ignorant about how many people actually were following every move that Wilco makes. Yeah. I had heard Wilco, but not a lot of Wilco music I did not know AM, for example, their first record. But I met Jeff Tweedy when a band I was playing, which was also called an alt-country band called the Geraldine Fibbers, was opening for Golden Smog for a couple of weeks on tour in 1996. And that's how I became aware of Jeff and how Jeff became aware of me. And I sat in with Golden Smog on the last night of that tour on the Beach by Neil Young. Yep. And whatever happened at that juncture was what I think Jeff remembered about me. And so he did probably do a little homework and realize that I did other things besides play in the Geraldine Fibbers. Right. And I know that Jeff was aware that I was going to try to, I guess, he thought maybe I was going to bring some new stuff in. And that's what he likes. I mean, he's restless. Right. So he gets interested in a lot of different things. But I wanted to just fit into the band.
Am I right that the first track on that record is called Either Way? Is that the first track?
Yes, it is.
And some of the, you come out of the gate with what could be described as a jazz solo. I mean, I don't
it is. It's kind of my nod to. It's kind of a Pat Metheny style solo.
Is that right?
In my opinion.
Well, I have my notes. I have Amos Garrett, George Benson, John Scofield.
I love John Scofield, and I love all those guys. Yeah. Well, certainly George Benson's a big influence.
That is such a huge, bold move for Wilco to put that sound on the first track that involves this new guitar player on an album, because it's such a different flavor than it ever had appeared on a Wilco record.
I think that would never happen again, because what happened was that the record became thought of as this mellow record because it's a very low-key opening track. Yeah. So I think most people don't get past the first track, is what I've learned.
You've been defined as a jazz player, and obviously, you've got dexterity and you've played the instrument a lot, and people who are ambitious and who don't fall into a specific category like flamenco or country often get called jazz because, for lack of a better term. But did you go through a period in your life when you consumed a whole bunch of Coltrane or you consumed a whole bunch of jazz classics?
I'm not really so up on the songbook anymore. I was never quite a specialist in that area, but I certainly was better at it years ago than I am now, because it's like sort of moldering or whatever. I'm not doing much of that, but I have played. I think the reason I get called jazz is because I can phrase in a jazz style. Certainly I study a lot of John Coltrane's music, but particularly his later music, and did a record of some of that a long time ago. But it's because I played with jazz people. Right. That's why they think I'm a jazz musician.
That seems to be a New York thing. Like, I think about some of the, even somebody like Mark Ribot gets called a jazz player. And
right, well, can be a brilliant jazz player. I've played with Mark, and he's quite an iconoclast, and he's a bit the contrarian. Like, he'll definitely toss in some mystery chunks when you think everything's gonna get smooth.
Well, there's actually a solo he plays on Elvis Costello's Kojak Variety, where he plays a run, and it's just a pentatonic blues run, and he plays 2 entire bars in the wrong key, in a semitone flat from the tonic of the song. And I was just trying to imagine the conversation in the control room after he played that, when they stopped the tape and went, okay, now what do we do?
Right. Well, I think Elvis knew what he was getting into.
He must have.
Because he loved his playing with Tom Waits.
Right.
And I've been asked to possibly play on some Tom Waits songs a couple of times from somewhere. I don't remember who asked me if I could do it. It wasn't Tom. I never met the man. But I'm really relieved that I was too busy both times. I was touring, because I can't really think of his music without Mark's stamp, and I think that I'm not the only one. I think it's this peculiar and possibly to Mark irritating legacy.
Right.
and it's because it's just perfect for
Yeah.
those songs. It's perfect
Yeah.
for that time.
Well, if you ever get offered a Tom Waits gig again and you decide to pass it on, maybe you could give them my phone number.
It was just a recording, and I'm sure I was being auditioned. I don't think he just lets anybody in there. I think he's pretty picky.
Yeah.
But Smokey Hormel did a
Right.
nice job
Yeah.
playing with Tom,
Yeah.
and I love Smokey. But we could talk about other guitar players. I love talking about other guitar players.
Yeah.
It's much better than talking about myself.
Can you communicate specific ideas through sound? Like, for example, you approach certain passages in the way that you do, which is sometimes very frantic and sometimes simply just beautiful. Are you conscious of what idea or emotion that you might be trying to get across?
Quite often, very much so, but I don't expect it to communicate. I hope it does, but I don't expect it to. So quite often I have pieces of music that for me are, they're very emotion-based. But that's a highly subjective area, just like any kind of artistic endeavor, I think. But I am in my own private universe, listening or waiting or writing this part that I think is going to, make the skies part, and everybody's going to, have some sort of amazing transformation, and the spiritual and the physical will merge, and racism will be over with, and we're all going to just go dancing hand in hand down the street, or something like that, maybe more modest, but that's what I'm thinking a lot of times about certain passages of music, because I experience that when I listen to music that inspires me, or that it mystifies me, or that takes me somewhere, that makes me feel something. And sometimes I don't know what it is, but it makes me go somewhere else.
Right.
And that's why I play.
Yeah.
That's what the experience that has kept me alive and playing the guitar, because it's the only thing I kind of seem to have any desire to do all the time besides breathe and eat.